Good evening, everyone and members of the public. My name is Mally Rosado, and I am the Council President for the Court of Common Council for the City of Hartford. And I am calling to order this regularly City Council meeting of Monday, February 8th to order. Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll? Mr. Clerk? Hello, Mr. Clerk, how are you?
Good. How you doing, Madam President?
Thank you for joining us. If you could please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bermudez.
Present.
Councilman Clark.
Here.
Councilman Gale.
Here.
Councilman LeBron.
Here.
Councilman Mitchell.
Here.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Present.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Here.
Councilman Sanchez.
Present.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And now our town clerk will lead us on to the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I would like to make the motion that we place the following items on the consent calendar.
Are we going to suspend the rules first?
I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Surgeon. I would like to make the motion that we suspend the rules to add on the following items. Item number 20, which is a Planning and Economic Development Housing Committee with accompanying resolution confirming the appointments of Kevin Henry to fill a vacancy and James Wolf to replace Lois Stoudemire for the Housing Authority of the City of Hartford. Item number 21, Planning, Economic Development Housing Committee with accompanying resolution confirming the appointment of Zoe Chatfield to the Hartford Parking Authority. Item number 2, Planning, Economic Development Housing Committee with accompanying resolution confirming the appointment of Zoe Chatfield as an alternate member to the Historic Preservation Commission. Item number 23, Planning, Economic Development Housing Committee communication concerning an ordinance amending Chapter 28, Article 10, Section 28-196 of Neighborhood Revitalization Zone Committees of the Municipal Code. Item number 24, City Holiday Discussion Resolution.
I second the motion.
A motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Any discussions? There being none, Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman LeBron.
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
I'm sorry, yes, I apologize, yes.
Yes. Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I'd like to make the motion this time to add the following items to the consent calendar. Excuse me. Item number 25, a committee of the whole with accompanying resolution confirming the appointment of Jennifer Hockendahl to the position of Chief Financial Officer, Director of Office of Management, Budget and Grants. Item number 8, ordinance amending Section 32-18 to extend the elderly tax relief program to elderly Hartford homeowners for taxes due on the grand list of October 1st, 2020, and increase slightly to the income limits. Item number 9, ordinance amending chapter 28, article 10, section 28-196 of the Neighborhood Revitalization Zone Committees of the Municipal Code. Item number 16 with a replacement. Resolution requesting that the Hartford Court of Common Council calls upon United States Senators Chris Murphy and Richard Blumenthal, the Connecticut Federal Delegation, and all of Congress to support the passage of any measure that would lead to DC statehood. Item number 17 with replacement. Resolution requesting the Court of Common Council calls upon Congressman John Larson to co-sponsor the Puerto Rico Self-Determination Act of 2020, HR 8113, and that the Connecticut Federal Delegation and all of Congress to support the passage of HR 8113. Item number 20, Planning, Economic Development, and Housing Committee with accompanying resolution confirming the appointments of Kevin Henry to fill a vacancy and James Wolfe to replace Laura Stoudemire, for the Hartford Housing Authority of the City of Hartford. Item number 21, Planning, Economic Development, and Housing Committee with accompanying resolution confirming the appointment of Zoe Chatfield to the Hartford Parking Authority. Item number 22, Planning, Economic Development, and Housing Committee with accompanying resolution confirming the appointment of Zoe Chatfield as an alternate member to the Historic Preservation Commission.
I second the motion.
A motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Any discussions? There being none, Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I am now calling for a motion to take a brief recess for 15 minutes. Do I have a second?
So moved.
A motion has been made and properly seconds to take a brief recess for 15 minutes. Are there,
Why are we taking a recess?
we're taking a recess. We, the Dems, need to discuss a business matter before we continue with this meeting. So we're respectfully asking for 15 minutes. Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll on this motion?
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale, Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And members of the public, we do apologize for this interruptions, but we will be back in 15 minutes. Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and members of the public. Thank you for your patience this evening, and I am calling this meeting back to order. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I would like to make the motion to recall items number 20, 21, and 22 for the sake of council member recusing themselves.
Can you repeat those items again, please?
Item 20, which is the resolution confirming the appointments of Kevin Henry to fill the item number 20. Motion to recall item number 20, which is the resolution of appointments of Kevin Henry to fill a vacancy and James Wolfe to replace Laura Stoudemire for the Housing Authority of the City of Hartford.
I second the motion.
Yes, and this is going to Corporation Counsel, a question. Mr. Rifkin, I know that a motion has been in place in second. I need to recuse myself from item number 20. Do we still need to do a complete roll call, or could it just be corrected with the clerk just making that notation?
Through you, Council President, I think you can just ask the clerk to note on the vote tally that you recused yourself from item number 20 on the consent calendar, and that the majority leader can withdraw his motion.
Thank you.
Madam President, just a quick question before we proceed further. Do we need to take do we need to take a roll call to come back into session?
No, we don't. I just confirmed with Corporation Counsel, and he did state that I just could call the meeting back to order.
Okay, duly noted. So I would like to withdraw my motion for reconsider item 20.
A second.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. And for the record, Mr. Clerk, if you could recuse myself from item number 20, the Hartford Housing Authority.
Duly noted.
Thank you. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I would like to make the motion that we withdraw the following items. Item number 10, which is ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 6, Division 7, Section 392 of the Municipal Code of Hartford to introduce Juneteenth as a city holiday. And item number 11, ordinance amending Chapter 9, Article 5 of the Municipal Code of Hartford to promote anti-blight in commercial storefronts.
I second the motion.
I have a motion that's been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Councilman Gale?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to speak about the withdrawal of item number 11, which is an ordinance that I co-sponsored along with Councilwoman Bermudez and Councilman Mictum, which has also apparently generated a tremendous amount of interest and unfortunately a tremendous amount of misconceptions. And I take partial blame for that, certainly for not doing a better job of rolling out the intent. What I am pleased about is the fact that it appears that people are now paying attention to this city council. And so when an agenda comes out, folks are reading it, and we're getting some pretty instant responses. What I would like to say to the business community, and especially the small business community in Hartford, is that there is absolutely no way that this ordinance was ever directed at our small business community in Hartford. The intent of this ordinance is to boost business activity in Hartford and not to diminish it. There's no intent to penalize anyone. I've heard that word used many, many times. The entire intent was to incentivize, to provide an incentive for business owners to look at alternative ways to fill their storefronts when they have been unable for years, in some cases, to put tenants in those spaces. And so that was really, the intent was to go after some of the spaces, particularly in downtown Hartford, was not really focusing on the arteries, and look at some of the spaces in the downtown area that have just been dark for years and years. Anyway, all that said, I think the intention right now is to withdraw it and potentially come back at a later date with something. But I would also point out that there is a task force that's been put together that includes many of the stakeholders certainly in the downtown area, and I would expect that this will be discussed at that task force, along with other issues that will be discussed there, specifically items concerning parking lots and activating parking lots. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Gale. And yes, I want to thank you for withdrawing this this ordinance. We are here to work with our small business owners and our businesses from the downtown area. And moving forward, we are and have already scheduled some meetings. So I want to thank you again, Councilman Gill, for withdrawing this ordinance. Are there any other discussions? Any other discussions? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Nope. Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I'd like to make the motion that we receive the following items. Item number 4, the Labor, Education, Workforce, and Youth Development Committee communication on presentation and concerning COVID early learning hubs. And item number 23, which is the Planning, Economic Development, Housing Committee communication concerning an ordinance amending Chapter 28, Article 10, Section 28-196 of Neighborhood Revitalization Zone Committees of the Municipal Code.
I second the motion.
A motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Any questions, discussions? There being none, Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I'd like to make the motion that we refer the following items to the announced committees. Item number 1 to the Public Works, Parks, and Environment Committee. Mayor Bronin with the company resolution confirming the reappointment of Donna Swar as a representative of Friends of Colt Park and appointment of Marion Roan as the representative of Friends of Keeney Park to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission. Item number 2 to the Health and Human Services Committee. Mayor Bronin with accompanying with accompanying annual report submitted on behalf of the Advisory Commission on Food Policy for the City of Hartford. This annual report is mandated by city ordinance and recounts the activities of the commission for 2020. Item number 3 to the Planning, Economic Development, and Housing Committee. Mayor Bronin with accompanying annual report submitted on behalf of the Planning and Zoning Commission for the City of Hartford. This annual report is mandated by city ordinance and recounts the activities of the commission for 2020. Item number 12 and 13 with a replacement to the Health and Human Services Committee. And please note that there is a hearing date for item number 12 on Tuesday, February 16th, 2021. Item number 12 is an ordinance amending Chapter 17, Article 4A, Section 102 of the Hartford Municipal Code. Item number 13 with a replacement is the resolution requesting that the mayor's office to provide more consistent administrative support dedicated to translation services for Hartford's Puerto Rican, Latin, and Hispanic communities. Item number 14 with a replacement to the Operations Management, Budget, and Government Accountability Committee. Item number 14 is a resolution requesting that the Court of Common Council create a task force to evaluate the prospects of implementing a UBI pilot program in the City of Hartford. Item number 15 with a replacement to the Health and Human Services Committee, which is a resolution requesting that the Court of Common Council calls on representatives from the Hartford Public Library and the Mayor's Office to provide an update on progress of this taxpayer-funded initiative, and that the city's Office of Community Engagement provide a biannual report of the Court of Common Council on its efforts to engage, inform, educate Hartford's refugee and immigrant families. Item number 15. I'm sorry, that was item number 15, yes. Item number 19 to the Operations Management, Budget, Government Accountability Committee, which is resolution requesting that MAC State Square LLC and FBE State Square LLC provide a report on or before March 1st, 2021, consistent with this obligation under the tax relief. And item number 24 to the Labor, Education, Workforce, and Youth Development Committee, which is a resolution for discussion on city holidays.
I second the motion.
Motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Any discussions? There being none, Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I'd like to make the motion that we postpone the following items until February 22nd, 2021, which is item number 6, an ordinance amending Chapter 2, appointments of department head requirements, Section 850, residency requirements of the municipal code. Item number 11. I'm sorry, item number 11 was already withdrawn. And I believe that's it.
I second the motion.
A motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Any discussions? There being none, Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I'd like to make the motion that we postpone indefinitely item number 7, which is a substitute ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 18, Section 2-860, Motor Vehicle Policy of the Hartford Municipal Code.
I second the motion.
A motion has been made and properly second. Councilman Mitchum.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a word on this. Folks may not remember there was a little when the police chief had his car accident. We discovered that although we have an ordinance that requires that take-home cars have GPS units, we found out then, if I'm talking about the right ordinance, that they don't actually, despite the law saying that they should, they don't have GPS units that tell us where they are at all times. And I had initially brought forward this ordinance that was very expansive in terms of punishments for not using the cars right. And I got pushback from my colleagues in committee, and I revised it, I think, to meet some of the concerns raised by Councilman Gale and Councilman LeBron. And it was just waiting in public safety for us to get a report from the chief operating officer about her efforts to put GPS units in these cars. And I just should note that I have reached out to her a number of times to say, hey, when are you going to come speak to the committee so we can make this thing go forward that we've worked on? And so far, nothing. So this is an ordinance to try to make our old ordinance actually work and make the executive branch of government follow the laws that we made long ago. And now the executive branch of government, by not cooperating, by moving slowly, is frustrating once again this very basic bit of accountability. So if anyone is watching and they wonder why it is we're postponing this indefinitely, this is how legislation dies around here without anyone having to say that they voted against sensible, transparent use of government resources.
Are there any other discussions? Councilwoman Bermudez?
Thank you. Yeah, the question is to the colleagues, why is it that council majority is now postponing this indefinitely? If we were waiting for Thea Montañez to be able to respond, or someone from the administration, but specifically it was Thea, to be able to respond and speak to this at the Public Safety Committee, then why are we just throwing it out the window without actually having a real conversation about the proposal.
Councilman Sanchez?
So I have a question for Councilman Migdam. Did you include the rest of the city council members in this email? When you reached out to the CO Montañez?
For you, Madam President, I did not. It was a couple of very brief emails that said, hey, this committee is waiting for this.
Okay, so as the one of the chairs of the Public Safety Committee, I will reach out to her tomorrow to see what we can do to get something.
Appreciate that.
Presentation.
Thank you, sir.
And
I apologize for you, Madam Chair. Madam
no
President.
problem. And so I believe that, yes, we do have to have further conversation on that. And one of the reasons why is that sometimes, and I'm going to ask Corporation Counsel to chime in, is usually in an ordinance, if we have friendly amendments, that ordinance can stand. If not, we have to put the ordinance through again, put it through public hearing. So I think that this is a conversation that not only Councilman Migdam should have with the administration. I think that we should really sit down and as a whole have further conversation and see how much really is the GPS system that you're requesting that be put on all the vehicles, what impact budget-wise is coming from the city. So that's why I am going to support postponing this indefinitely, but having both of our public safety chairs reach out tomorrow and have that conversation. Yes, Councilman Migdam.
Just a note, I appreciate the comments on the question. Just a note, this is not a requirement by the ordinance I've proposed to have the GPS units go into the cars. This is already city law. I've just proposed a slight modification so that would force the administration to follow the law.
I understand clearly. Councilman LeBron?
Yeah, it's my understanding, and sometimes I think perspective is key because perception becomes reality. It was my understanding that it was a substantial amount of changes to what currently existed as to why we kind of need to go back to the drawing board. But Councilman Migdam, with you, I did state concerns previously, but I also stated with you that we needed to look at this and we needed to implement something. So I share with the public and share with you and, definitely reach out to my office. I was unaware about that communication. But my understanding was there was substantial enough changes that we kind of need to start from scratch again. So that was my understanding. So, but again, reach out to my office and we can work on something together if you like.
Any other discussions? There being none, Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez. Councilwoman Bermudez.
Pass.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Abstain.
Councilman LeBron.
Yes.
Councilman Migdam.
No.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilman Surgeon.
Yes.
Councilwoman Bermudez.
No.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I'd like to make the motion that we take action on item number 18, which is a resolution requesting that the city of Hartford supports various legislative initiatives which are either pending before the legislature of the state of Connecticut or may be introduced therein during the present legislative session.
I second the motion.
A motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Any discussion? There being none, Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez.
Excuse me, Madam President. I think Councilwoman Bermudez had her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Bermudez. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, thank you for putting this up for action because the session has begun. As of tomorrow, legislators are going to be receiving testimony on some of these items. And so it's important for them to hear from all in the community.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Abstain.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
No.
Councilman Mitchum,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
No.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Abstain.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And that concludes our meeting of this evening. I want to thank my council colleagues for working through this agenda and members of the public for being patient with us this evening. With that said, everyone stay safe and have a nice evening. Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.